The jacket was still warm. That was the first thing that terrified me. It shouldn't have been. My father had been buried only 3 hours ago, but it felt like his presence was still stitched into the fabric. And then the note slipped out. A small, folded scrap with handwriting I recognized instantly. Daughter, come to my grave tomorrow at 4 p.m. 5:50, 4 p.m. My breath shattered in my chest. My name is Aurelia, and until this exact moment, I believed every word they told me about my father's death, that it was peaceful, that it was natural, that nothing strange happened. My stepmother repeated that story like a rehearsed line. The hospital signed it off without hesitation. But as I held that trembling note between my fingers, one truth rose like ice at my spine. My father wrote this after he was officially dead. Something was wrong. Hideously wrong. And for the first time since the funeral, the numbness burned away, replaced by a sharp, electric suspicion. Because this message, this timestamp, this jacket, they weren't remnants of a goodbye. They were a warning. And tomorrow at 4 p.m., someone expected me. Someone who shouldn't be able to write anything anymore. But someone living clearly didn't want me to discover what he left behind. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling, replaying every second of the funeral, every word my stepmother Daria had spoken in that syrupy voice she used when she was hiding something. By morning, my chest felt like a fist was pressing down on it. When my father married her 2 years ago, I tried, God knows I tried, to accept her. But she always treated me like a visitor trespassing in my own father's life. The distance between them grew slowly, quietly, until my father stopped sounding like himself. He became withdrawn, tired, almost frightened. I blamed age. I blamed work. I blamed everything except her. Now I wasn't so sure. I returned to the apartment for the first time since finding the note. The place felt staged, too clean, too arranged, as if grief had been rehearsed here instead of lived. My father's favorite mug was missing. So was the book he always kept by the sofa. And the little music box he once said he'd leave to me gone too. Daria claimed the hospital collected his things. But the jacket they gave me? That was still here, hidden, waiting. As I opened his wardrobe again, something scratched inside the lining, another folded piece of paper trapped beneath the stitching. My pulse hammered. If the first note told me when to come, this one might tell me why. The second note was smaller, shakier, written as if my father's hand was fighting something, or someone. If you found the first message, don't trust her. Just that. No name. No clarity. But my bones already knew who he meant. Daria. The woman who cried too quickly at the funeral. Who avoided looking at me when the doctor said, heart failure. Who rushed the burial as if deadlines existed for grief. Pieces that never connected before began snapping together, like magnets. Over the past year, I remembered overhearing arguments, her demanding money he didn't have, him refusing, her rage spilling out in sharp, venomous whispers. I remembered how he canceled our weekly lunches, claiming he felt too tired, though his voice trembled in a way exhaustion never caused. And then how suddenly everything stopped. His calls, his messages, his smile. A sinking dread spread through me. My father wasn't just sick. He was scared. I slipped the notes into my pocket and left the apartment, locking the door with fingers that wouldn't stay steady. If he warned me not to trust her, then going to his grave tomorrow might be more than dangerous. It might be a trap someone expected me to walk into alone. As I stepped into the hallway, I froze. Daria was standing at the elevator, watching me. Her lips curved, not into a smile, but something colder. Looking for something, Aurelia? I didn't answer her. I couldn't. Her gaze pinned me like a butterfly on glass. Curious, calculating, trying to decide whether I had discovered something I shouldn't have. When the elevator doors slid shut behind her, I exhaled a breath I didn't realize I was holding. By the next day, every step toward the cemetery felt like I was walking deeper into a story my father tried desperately to tell before death silenced him. The sky was dull, heavy, as if it, too, carried secrets. I arrived at 3:58 p.m. No one was there. Just the grave. Fresh soil. Flowers already wilting. I knelt beside the headstone, fingers brushing the cold stone. Papa, I'm here, I whispered. At 4:02, my phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. Turn around. My blood chilled. Behind me stood Daria, dressed in black, a little too elegant for mourning. Her expression wasn't grief. It was irritation, almost boredom. You weren't supposed to find those notes, she said calmly. He was getting difficult. Talking too much. He needed to be silenced before he ruined everything. My breath snapped. You killed him. A slow, satisfied smile curved her lips. I finished what he started. The ground felt like it tilted beneath me. Then she stepped closer. Now we have a problem, Aurelia. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Not because of fear, because of clarity. Everything my father had tried to warn me about, everything he couldn't say out loud, now stood inches from my face, wearing perfume and false mourning. But Daria made one mistake. She thought shock would paralyze me. Instead, it sharpened me. I stood slowly, forcing calm into my voice. Why are you telling me this? She shrugged. Closure. And because no one will believe you. You're emotional, grieving, unstable. She leaned closer. And I already cleaned everything. Her confidence, her arrogance was a gift. Because while she talked, while she gloated, while she bragged about being untouchable, I remembered something. My father wasn't careless. He didn't leave notes for nothing. If he hid these, he hid more. And his apartment had dozens of places he never let anyone touch. Books with hollowed centers, loose floorboards, the locked drawer in his study. Daria took my silence as defeat. Of course she did. She only understood loud emotions, not quiet strategy. When she walked away, heels slicing into the gravel, she tossed one last sentence over her shoulder. Let it go, Aurelia. The dead don't talk. But she was wrong. My father had already started speaking. Now it was my turn. And I was going to finish what she started. I returned to the apartment with a steadiness that surprised even me. Grief had cracked open a new version of myself. Quieter, sharper, colder. The kind of woman my father used to call my little strategist. I started in his study. The locked drawer? I opened it the way he taught me when I was little. Press, lift, slide. Inside was a flash drive. Unlabeled. Hidden beneath old receipts. My pulse kicked. Next, the floorboard under the bookshelf, his favorite hiding spot. I pried it up and found a tiny voice recorder, wrapped in cloth. When I pressed play, his voice filled the room. Aurelia, if you're hearing this, she's already lied. I sank to the floor, hand over my mouth. He detailed everything. How Daria had been draining his accounts, how she forged medical documents, how she threatened to speed up the inevitable if he didn't sign over the apartment. And then, the final recording, a conversation between them. Her voice was unmistakable. Sign it, or your death will be uglier than it needs to be. My blood froze. He recorded her. He protected the evidence. He trusted me to find it. So, I built the plan. A lawyer friend who owed me a favor. A carefully timed message to the police. And a scheduled visit from Daria to discuss inheritance. Tomorrow, she would walk straight into the trap he and I set together. The next morning, I brewed tea with hands that no longer trembled. The grief hadn't disappeared, but it had changed shape. It had become purpose. At 11 a.m., I texted Daria exactly what she wanted to hear. I think we should settle the inheritance peacefully. Come to the apartment. Predictably, she replied within seconds. On my way. Sharks always swim fastest toward blood. I positioned everything carefully. The flash drive on the desk, the recorder beside it, the legal documents my lawyer helped prepare spread neatly in a folder that said evidence in bold red print. When she entered, her expression cracked just slightly. Not fear. Not guilt. Annoyance. You're still chasing fantasies? She scoffed, tossing her purse onto the couch. I gestured to the desk. Not fantasies. His words. She glanced at the recorder and froze. For the first time, something flickered in her eyes. Recognition. then dread. You don't have the rights to. He gave them to me, I interrupted softly. His voice, his story, his proof. The door behind her opened. 2 officers stepped inside. My lawyer followed. Daria spun toward me, betrayal twisting her features. What did you do? I met her gaze, steady, unblinking. Listen to the dead. Her throat bobbed as realization hit. This wasn't a conversation. This was checkmate. For a moment, Daria didn't move. She just stood there, breathing too fast, like a predator who finally realized the cage had always been around her, not me. The officers read her the charges: fraud, coercion, attempted murder. But the final blow came when my lawyer opened the folder and slid a document across the table. A bank statement. Her signature. Forged transfers. Daria's face collapsed in on itself. You planned this, she whispered, voice cracking. No, I said quietly.
He did.
I only finished it. As they handcuffed her, she thrashed. You little fool. He was weak. He was dying anyway. I stepped closer, lowering my voice to a blade. He didn't die because he was weak. He died because you were afraid of how strong he still was. Her scream echoed down the hallway as they dragged her out. Silence settled like dust after a storm. For the first time since his death, I felt air fill my lungs without burning. That evening, I returned to the cemetery alone. The sky was bruised purple, soft, like it knew I needed gentleness. I placed the notes beside his headstone, smoothing the paper as if it were his hand. Papa, it's done, I whispered. She can't hurt anyone anymore. You can rest now. A warm wind brushed my cheek, light, soft, impossibly timed. As if he answered. I closed my eyes. Justice wasn't loud. Revenge wasn't violent. It was quiet, precise, final, just the way he taught me.